It's time to talk about resource systems in card games. What are resources? When we talk about resources, what are they? Resources are something that you accumulate and use during your game. You can think about them as money that you use to play your cards or perform some actions. And when we talk about resource systems, we talk about how does the economy of the game works. One of the problems from Magic is that you don't know really if you're going to get lands. And so sometimes you can spend like 4 or 5 turns without ever drawing a land at the beginning of the turn. And that's quite a big problem because, as we said, the resources are the fuel to your engine, the fuel for the engine that is your deck. And then you end up losing. And that's due to the fact intrinsically how the resource system of Magic works. Duel Masters takes the same idea but says you can use any card as a land, you can use any card as a resource. And that's an extremely compelling idea. It changes the dynamic, it simplifies deck construction, and as we've seen in the last 20 years, a lot of other card games adopted it. And what I did was I implemented the same functionality, which I called it Forge Mana, and it allows you to use 1 card per turn to increase your maximum mana pool. But this can be quite confusing and frustrating for beginner. Also interesting, during the playtesting phase, it seemed also there is a kind of a psychological block in using a card for mana. So what I did is I playtested with an alternative to that, in which you can use any card to be used as to forge mana. But that card doesn't get sacrificed, it doesn't get put in the discard pile, but it gets put back and shuffled back into the deck. So you don't get this emotional, let's say, anguish in losing that card, but it feels a bit psychologically better. Also, it simplifies deck construction. You can have like smaller decks that way. You can use any card, and you're sure that that card you're gonna get it back sometime later. But there was a specific edge case that I wanted to avoid, which is the fact that if you have only 1 card in the deck, you can draw that card and then you can continuously shuffle it back to get infinite mana and you never finish your deck. And that was kind of a loophole that I wanted to fix. And in Forge Mana, what happens is that you can only forge cards that have cost that is greater to your max mana pool. And I think I can make it clear from an interaction point of view, so it's easier to understand because some mana, some cards can be highlighted, and these cards are the ones that you can forge, and these are the ones that you cannot forge. Anyway, after a lot of playtesting, I've seen that also kind of doesn't work, so I'm leaving that mode as an experiment, but I am discarding it for now. Everybody really loves the automatic mana progression system a la Hearthstone, and so that's what I'm gonna go for, and I'm gonna try to figure out if there is some sort of way of spicing things up mana-wise in another way. And yeah, you never know, but overall I think I'm quite confident that already having this automatic progression system is quite a better approach than using any other type, just because on mobile you want to be fast, you want to be approachable, you don't want to have the other person on the other side wait a significant amount of time, so you want to minimize certain parts of the game. So don't get me wrong, complexity is good, complexity is great, but we need to constrain complexity so that we can actually concentrate in the more fun part of the gameplay. And that's it. Thank you for being with me, speaking about money, speaking about resources, speaking about the resource system in games, and see you next time. Bye.
Cards on the table, rules in the air. Balancing this game, it's a wild affair. Manafront's a puzzle, but we're pulling hair. Play tasting chaos, who even cares?